Hey everybody, welcome back to my next free tutorial Friday, and this is what's going on around the studio this week. Is we get some of these. So I hate to keep teasing you guys that you haven't started shipping yet. They just are in New York right now, our bulk shipment, and they should hopefully get through customs and get into our warehouse by the middle to end of next week, and then be distributed out to Amazon, etc. So they are close, they are real. I just got back from Luca Comics and Games in Italy, where we released the first 60 into circulation. So that was fun. I'm a little exhausted, a little jet lagged, but I'm about to sign a bunch of these, and so I thought I'll make it this week's Free Tutorial Friday, which is I would like to develop the car sketch I do in a lot of these books. So that's what we're going to do in a couple minutes. Yeah, I'll put a link on the in the description this week. I'm doing a gallery show in San Francisco next Friday at Astro Studios, and there will be a bunch of these for sale there. It's like a book release event, and then the following day on Saturday I'll be doing some workshops there. So I already did a flip through of this. I posted a couple weeks ago on my Facebook page. I think I'll wait another week or two when the book's actually into our warehouse before I do a sort of comprehensive overview of the book. But it's here, it's real. I'm really happy with the print quality. I'm very happy with the way that drawings really look like drawings in the book, especially the marker sketches. If I hold them up to next to my sketchbook, they really look like almost exactly the same, which is great. So I think it's nice to have things in print that way, as opposed to digital only, where it's hard to evaluate and see the sketches and see really what they look like. So let's get to this week's Free Tutorial Friday, which is going to be evolving the sketch, the design of the sketch that I do right here in a few minutes. So let's go and work on the design of that, and then we'll come back and sign up this book and send it off to someone. Okay, I've repositioned my camera, and let's just start with the car sketch I usually add to a lot of my vehicle books. And a lot of artists, when we sketch, when we do sign people's books, it's nice to have a sketch that you can do quickly inside someone's book. So this is the basic sketch I usually do when I do a car sketch. And it's nice to have something that's repeatable and simple enough that you can talk while you're working on it. And so this is the one I usually do, and this is the sequence. But as I was signing, I did this sketch a lot, and subtle variations of it last week in Italy. And as I was doing it, I was like, I really need to. I wonder if I can evolve that sketch and make it better looking. Because I was getting a little tired of it, but two, I always in the back of my mind, every time I go to a trade show or something and I sign a bunch of books, like Comic-Con, for instance, and this was the Italian Comic-Con, Luca Comics and Games, and I only revisit the design when I'm signing books, and otherwise I ignore it for the whole rest of the year, when I'm just working in the studio, and then I just default to it when I'm at a show. And the only problem with that is that when I look at it, I'm kind of tired of it, and I'm like, could that be better? But I never take the time to develop it. Never try to sit down, like I'm trying to do right now, and see if I can make it a more interesting design and a more interesting sketch. So I have, these are the steps that I do all the time. So I usually drop in the side window, the rear door cut, front door cut, side marker, little modulation through the middle of the body, little reflection line across the top of the rear fender, bottom of the windshield, up and over the roof. I put like a little rear spoiler there just to have a little visual interest. It's also a brake, so I don't have to draw this entire line all the way down the back. And then I can restart again when I can see the back. Then do something like this, and some sort of exhaust port, some sort of rear diffuser under the car, I add the shadow after I see how long the diffuser is. And then I like to notch, have a little floating rear panel all the way across the back of the car that has a little spoiler and maybe a couple little details, rear tail light. And almost done. I'm going to add the front of the car. So I usually like to do this reflection line through here, or character line up and over the wheel arch, and then leaning inward a bit, and then going to that little part of the top of the shoulder there at the door. And I usually do two lines here, like this, some scribble there for some sort of headlight, a little front air splitter up there, and shadow once I see how long that is. Then here, and a big hood scoop. So obviously front engine, long nose, short tail. And that's basically it. So that's my quick sketch card that I throw into a lot of the books that I sign, and it works well for me. But I've always wondered, I should spend 20 minutes and see if I could evolve this a little bit. So let's see if I come up with something that I like more. Don't know that I will this morning, as I'm quite exhausted from my travels, but let's try. So again, front wheel, ground. Got to have the ground, because if I don't have the ground, I can't establish the rake of the car. So the ground is important for me to include. I usually draw a slightly larger rear wheel. That wheelbase is pretty long. Let's try moving it a little bit forward. And let's establish the rake. Let's try a different line. This line's basically okay. Maybe we'll show a bit of mechanism under the car. Far side tire, just a little bit of perspective. A little bit of the ground plane showing. So that part's basically the same. But let's experiment with this line. I always put this exhaust pipe here, which is a little bit odd, having it notch out the door. And where's it going to? It's going to run along the rocker here. Probably more realistic to have some sort of big, side vent up here. So maybe I can incorporate that into this rocker line. So let's try. Let's try something like this. And then I'll shade this. It's a big scoop. Maybe make it run right down into that rocker. And could even put a little quick cast shadow there. So that's one option. What about making this reflection line go up and over the front wheel like it is? I always like that. It has a nice action to it, up and over, and then notching back in. But what about now doing the same at the back? So what if we continue this here, and then do something like this, up and over. I don't know yet where it's going to go, but that's just the idea. And let's see, then my window could come out of here. Let's do the side window. Maybe put a little snap to that line, and then where's this door cut going to go? It could go here. And let's see, do I want to bring it into this? We could just do something like, let it fade into that. See, I don't like that I just drew, but it's okay, that's why I'm doing a sketch. Something like this. So it could come into here. Could be that line. I don't know, that needs some work. All right, let's go up and over for the roof. So this is basically my center line. And something like this, maybe there's a rear spoiler like that. So that line flows into there. So basically I'm just trying to find a nice graphic expression of the lines, because those are fun to look at in a sketch, and something I could do repeatedly, quickly. And once you learn the lines, then of course you can repeat it fairly fast when you're signing a book for someone. That basically stayed the same. This is different. I don't know if I like it better. So basically you just have to draw, if you wanted to do this for yourself, and I'm trying to find a new design, you just draw a whole bunch of these. And I like to do them in overlay fashion, right, where I can see the sketch below. To see when I'm done, I'll put them side by side and see if I like it more or less. Let's try about putting that headlight up a little bit higher. Maybe there's something coming out of the center. I always like to give this air splitter here a bit more weight. So a bit darker. And then when I'm doing the sketches, if you're doing just a design sketch of the body, you wouldn't bother with probably wheels, but to do a nice sketch in someone's book, then I always like to add some wheels. And I usually default to 5-spoke because they're a bit more dynamic. Odd-numbered spokes are more dynamic than even-numbered. So 5s. So here, and then about there, there. And I could spend, I should probably bust open my sketchbook and spend an hour figuring out a nice wheel design, but this is kind of my default. And in Italy I started doing this spiral thing where I put a dot, like a hole, and then I spiral across that. So I'm just looking for a rhythm of lines that are dynamic, not that they're totally practical. Obviously the holes would be much bigger in a real, sporty wheel on a sports car. And then maybe another line inside. Just looking for some visual interest and some nice dynamic lines. And maybe we could even put a little relief in there, and then maybe again my side marker. I don't know if I like it better. Maybe parts of it are better. Let's see. Let's fold this. Get them both on screen together. That's an option, right? It's a little bit longer to draw, but I'm sure if I did it a couple times, it could work. So things that are working for me. Let's see. This, this has that character line that goes up and over the front wheel, and then this just has a little blip indicating a little relief for that rear fender. But then this one's continuous. That's not the greatest line, so that would need some work. This is maybe a little more interesting. It's a bit more traditional than this, but this is a little nonsensical, which is okay for an abstract sci-fi quick sketch car, but probably should revisit either making this a bit more practical or evolve this until it's got a nicer rhythm. The way the door cut hits it is not very nice. I still don't know what these things are. It's some sort of, cooling vents or something across the center line of the hood. I still like that back end a little bit more. So anyway, that's the process. I would just keep taking that sketch and putting the page underneath, starting over, and playing with lines and playing with proportions, which really is a big part of designing vehicles. And maybe I try to change the size of everything. Maybe I go and do a 5-spoke, but then flip it upside down, do a 10-spoke. Probably too visually noisy, so I probably don't like that. And even on this, let's try a static, like a 4 holes instead of 5. See, that's just too static for me, but this is too visually noisy. So you might say, oh, this is just not the right direction. So ditch it, start over. The nice thing about doing these with a Sharpie, you have to think before you draw a little bit, and it's about the clean, minimal line. So let's just try that again. All right, well, obviously it's going to take more effort and more time to develop a design that I'm happy with, which is fine, right? Anything worth doing a lot of times takes a lot of time and effort, and that is no problem. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to do this. I'm back to that same wheel. So obviously time to go back to the drawing board, do a bit more of experimentation, and then start signing some books. So I'm going to grab the book, and I'm going to sign it and send it out to a friend of mine today. And so let me do that now. See, now I'm getting preoccupied with drawing and trying to design this wheel, so I'm getting distracted. Okay, so let's stop this and jump into signing a book. I like that line though. That's kind of nice. That rhythm. Okay, I'm going to sign a book and wrap up this Free Tutorial Friday. I will, like I said, talk about the book much more in the coming weeks as it hits our warehouse and starts shipping. Okay, so I'm back in the book here on the signing page, which usually is, page is that? Page 3 usually we make the signing page. So let's do a variation of my signature car. This is going to go to James Gurney. And so, hey James, all the best. James and I trade our books when he comes out. He did a great book on color and light, and he sent me one. I sent him one of my ones on vehicles, so now I'm up again with a book, and so I'd like to send it to him. So let's do a car sketch for James. So I'll grab a Sharpie and then try to do the nicest line work that I can. You know, I don't mind if they get a little bit, I think they're a little bit better actually when they're looser and a bit abstracted and a bit stylized. So sometimes I'll take these spoke lines and actually run them through the tire or through the wheel a little bit to loosen it up. Like this little spiral thing I've been doing. Let it run and break across those other lines. Just adding a little bit of visual interest. Because when you're signing a book, especially at the trade shows, you have to work fast. So it's not like you can really get in there and, nobody wants to wait 10 minutes for you to do a sketch. Let's see, let's try the new. Try the new line across the bottom and far side tire, and we'll try that new side body with the vent coming out of the engine bay at the front. I add a little depth there for his shadow. And I usually like to throw a couple lines on the foreground here and even some in the background just to loosen it up a bit so it's not such high contrast bold line. And then let's put in the side window. So I like to pre-visualize by just drawing above the paper where the side window is going to go. So a little bit more vertical at the front for the windshield and here, and then a little snap. Alright, so now I'm just making up a new design. Slight variation, but influenced by that study I did a couple minutes ago. And I still like this little blip over to indicate the rear fender. And base of the windshield. Up and over for the roof line. A little blip. Like a little spoiler there. Then I like to look and make sure I'm not going to hit that line when I draw this one. Like so. Little flip tail. Little notched out back, little exhaust. I still like that. I still like this little floating tail light. I like that because it provides a nice anchor with a little bit of contrast. Not anchor as in you want your car to go slow, but a little visual anchor with a little contrast back there. Some details across the back. Some sort of a little aerodynamic tunnel or something happening back there. A little cast shadow. And that reflection line up and over the front wheel, and then flowing into that line right at the shoulder. This still needs some work up here for sure, but I'll just go with what I've been doing and put in a couple, even just floating lines that aren't even attached. It makes the drawing look a little bit more dynamic. And cast shadow. Trying to make that consistent width through there. And let's add the hood. Like this. And hood scoop. Little vent. And voila. It is basically done. And I got to sign it. And date it. Let's see, what is this? I'll just go November 13. Great. There you go, James. Hope you enjoyed the book. And thanks again to everybody for subscribing to the channel. And I'll talk, like I said, in a week or two in more depth about the book. But they are almost here. So please be patient, and hopefully you will enjoy it. Have a great week. Bye-bye.